Hello and welcome to the Brassic Gamer Review of Major Stryker by Apogee software. And if you haven't heard of Apogee, I would say you haven't been playing enough DOS games. Maybe you've heard of Duke Nukem, Commander Keen, Wolfenstein 3D? Yes, this is the company that went on to become 3D Realms, producing other groundbreakers such as Rise of the Triad, Duke Nukem 3D and Max Payne.
Excuse me, I think you'll find that Keen and Wolf 3D were written by id Software.
Yes, Nigel, that's correct, but Apogee published those games? Just fuck off, will you? My point is, I don't see Major Stryker mentioned as much as it should be these days, and I think that's because it's misunderstood. It was one of my personal favourites back in the day, so I'm going to try and explain why it was good then and why it still holds its own today. Major Stryker is a vertically scrolling shoot 'em up. Now, I've never been a big fan of such games. I'm much more about driving and first-person shooters, but Major Stryker has enough of the magic ingredients that I just keep coming back to it. Originally released as shareware, you got the first chapter for free, and this was usually enough to either get you hooked or see you use the deltree command to get rid permanently. There's no setup program, so your hardware is auto-detected when you run the game, and it supports AdLib, Sound Blaster and PC Speaker. I love this intro. I actually get disappointed with other Apogee games that don't have this little tune. I also like how the music is synchronised to the titles, giving it a kind of demo scene feel. See that name, Robert Prince? More on that in a minute. The menus are very good, offering the usual configuration options for keyboard, joystick calibration, plus a jukebox that lets you play all the in-game music. This actually brings me to one of the finest aspects of the game, the music. Back in the day, I played this with an AdLib sound card, and it's one of the most memorable soundtracks I've ever heard in a DOS game. No surprise really, considering it's written by Robert Prince, aka Bobby Prince. I could do an entire video about this guy, as his music genuinely is the soundtrack to my gaming youth, having composed the music for Wolfenstein 3D, Commander Keen, Blake Stone, and most famously, Doom. It was actually playing Doom 2 recently that reminded me of Major Stryker. Check out the music from level 1. Even the zombies are shaking their butts. The instructions for the game are pretty good, and it's worth familiarising yourself with some of the game features and controls if you're a first timer. Thankfully, it is pretty simple and intuitive, but there are some details you can miss, like the alternate fire that's available. If you care, there's backstory to read as well, which is basically humanity nearly destroying itself through World War III, 8 years of peace on Earth, followed by, of course, an alien attack. This was apparently a race called the Cretans, attacking Earth via your obligatory wormhole, an unsuccessful military counterattack followed where it looks like more people died than succeeded, and finally you, Major Stryker, getting the call to take your specially modified ship through the wormhole to take out those pesky aliens. The shareware version of the game only has the first chapter, and this brings us on to difficulty. Major Stryker was notoriously difficult when it came out, and Joe Siegler, one of the beta testers, said, "I remember the first beta build we ever got of Stryker. It was darn near impossible. I remember every tester complaining about how hard it was." There are 3 difficulty levels, but don't be fooled by the term beginner for the lowest setting because that's not the same as easy. You're better off choosing this setting until you've got to grips with the actual game. Otherwise, you're going to die, continually, and that's when a game becomes shit. Even with the best weapon, a shield and all the upgrades, there are parts of the game you will only get through by memorising, so don't bother getting all macho. Personally, I see the difficulty levels as a way of lengthening the game, so you can play through later at a harder setting for a new challenge. Considering the graphics at EGA, that's 16 colours for non-geek folk, I think Apogee did a great job with the aesthetics of the game, including cutscenes and creating a really strong graphical identity. Any of you that have played Keen or Duke Nukem will probably recognise the style. Before each level, you get a briefing from Fleet Admiral Yoshira, who makes increasingly suggestive comments as the game goes on, Personally, I find this to be somewhat unprofessional and distracting considering the weight of the world is on my shoulders and I'm about to go into battle. Feel free to make your own enjoyment out of the dated innuendo by imagining yourself to be female and Yoshira to be the taxi driver from the League of Gentlemen.
Oh, Stryker love, did I ever tell you how much I love your eyes? Good luck and good shooting.
You start the game with a simple weapon, 4 lives, 5 zap bombs, and the controls are Alt to fire, arrow keys to move, spacebar to fire a bomb. At first you can get away with just spamming the entire screen as enemies only appear from the top, but as the game progresses you're going to need to be more careful as enemies appear from all directions and often all at the same time. This is definitely one of those games where you need to be in the zone. You need to keep focused on the space around the ship so that nothing hits you, while also being aware of what's coming next. The action is pretty intense and doesn't let up until you complete a level. Thankfully, this is where you'll get a chance to save. In its basic state, your ship is destroyed by one hit. This can take some getting used to at first, and could be a bit of a put-off for some shoot 'em up fans, but there are 2 types of upgrade that can help. Weapons, and these appear as a box from the right hand side of the screen. All you have to do is shoot the container and pick up the upgrade. And there are 6 levels going from single fire right up to multiple directional fire. Then there's shields. These can be hard to grab, but if you do, shields can help you navigate a particularly challenging section, lasting for either a set period of time or a certain number of hits. There are items to pick up as well, which appear as letters in the playfield and also when you destroy an entire group of attackers. These include extra lives, zap bombs and extra speed, and if you pick up the one called Hold, the screen stops scrolling while a group of alien ships attack in a specific formation, kill all of them and you get a bonus item. You also need to rescue humans. These are some of the Muppets that formed the first attack through the wormhole and got taken prisoner. These are rescued by kind of ramming into them. They do unfortunately absorb your own fire, so they can get in the way. One of my favourite things about Stryker is the variation in the scenery. Part of this is to do with the triple parallax scrolling that is one of the game's standout features. And there are also 2 of each environment, going from Space Station to the Water Zone to the Land Zone and finally the fiendish lava. You get a boss every 3 levels, each one varying in difficulty, but as you might expect, once you learn their patterns and tricks, it doesn't take too long to outsmart them. Depends how smart you are, I suppose. The final boss is the Mothership, and yeah, you're gonna die. A lot. I mean, it's not impossible, but there's nothing easy about this game. So, that's my take on Major Stryker. Bear in mind, this was a review of just the shareware version, and there are 2 more chapters in the full version. This is a game whose smooth scrolling, sharp graphics, intense action and great music definitely put it on my list of all-time favourites. It gets extra Brassic points for now being a freeware release. Yes, if you want to play the whole thing, it's available as a free download from the 3D Realms website, or if you're a mug, you can get it for a couple of quid off Steam. The link is in the description, plus a bonus link to the beta version so you can find out for yourself just how insanely difficult the final release isn't. I'm the Brassic Gamer, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this in the future, and I'll see you in the comments.
You might want to use your forward floods, love, so you can see better with your heat shields raised. Oh, it's pretty hot where I am too. Hope I see you back soon.